Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be talking about Mark Driscoll getting booted from a men's conference. And this men's conference is the Stronger Men's Conference hosted by James River Church in Springfield, Missouri. And this is where Mark Driscoll went to. Supposedly, he was about to preach on, how to be an Elijah and how to deal with Ahab and Jezebel. But he dealt with the Jezebel right then and right there and got booted from an evangelical conference. This is a very fascinating event because this does not happen a whole lot in Big Eva, where someone takes a stand against someone else at a conference. This does not happen. John MacArthur does not do this. He doesn't do this with, John Piper and Ligon Duncan, who are extremely woke. But Mark Driscoll, who has fewer qualms about who he's willing to associate with, did do this with his, long time, someone who's associated with, and Jim Lindell. So this is a very interesting church. This James River Church in Springfield, Missouri. They do a lot of extravagant events. This is the church that does the monster trucks at the men's conference that have gone viral several times, and I believe they also did the monster trucks this year, but it wasn't as viral this year because they've kind of been there, done that, I guess. But this was the moment from this men's conference that went viral, and it got Mark Driscoll booted, and then they tried to struggle session him afterwards. I think this is a very fascinating story because Mark Driscoll is certainly a colorful character. He's not someone that has the best theology in the world. A lot of his content on Israel and Hamas is very evident that his theology isn't super great. But when it comes to courage, he's very good. When it comes to biblical application, I think he's pretty good. When it comes to theology, not as much. When it comes to associating with, good people, not as much. And it's pretty interesting. Mark Driscoll is as a character. But nonetheless, this is a highlight for him, I would say, and we're going to talk about it. But first, I want to let you know Evangelical Dark Web is a Christian news gathering and commentary ministry. You can support our work over at our Patreon-like system at evangelicaldarkweb.org/join. But we also have a free Evangelical Dark Web newsletter. It gives you Christian news in your inbox each and every day. But the least you can do is like this video, subscribe to the channel or podcast if you are new. So there's a lot going on in this story, but this is really what the cause of it all is. And it is a renowned male stripper that was performing at this men's conference. Now, and what he was doing was a pole dancing while also sword swallowing, which is just really gay. I think sword swallowing is inherently gay. I'm just going to say that, and you shouldn't be doing things that are pretty gay at a men's conference because that's not manly. But nonetheless, they got this renowned stripper, this renowned male stripper performing at a men's conference and doing a sword swallowing routine. And from a pole. So he did a pole dance and a sword swallow. Here's a video of that. It's at 2x speed. But as you can see, he's climbing up the pole. He's got the sword deep, very deep in his mouth, and now he's about to go down on the pole. And then he just stops himself before the sword hits the ground and then plunges the sword, which is probably very dull, deep into his esophagus and stomach or whatever. So, again, not a fan of sword swallowing. Not really a skill I respect. And there's a lot of people with very weird skills that I respect, like the tablecloth guy. But, nonetheless, that shouldn't really be at a Christian event. And that person shouldn't be at a Christian event either. So, this is Mark Driscoll. It's a little hard to hear because this is a cell phone captured video. And a guy named Mark Tyndall posted this video on YouTube. And, I guess it's his video personally. I'm going to rely heavily on subtitles, so this might be better to watch than to listen to on the podcast, just to fully disclose that.
I've been up since 1 o'clock in the morning. reason I'm hoarse is I have been praying for you, and my heart is very burdened for you. And I want to be very careful with this, and it's not what I want to say, but the Jezebel spirit has already been here. The Jezebel spirit opened our event. This is a rebuke and a correction of no one. This is an observation. Before the Word of God was open, there was a platform. It was a high place. On it was a pole, an asher. The same thing that's used in the strip club for women who have the Jezebel spirit to seduce men. In front of that was a man who ripped his shirt off like a woman does in front of a pole at a strip club. That man then ascended. See, our God is not arrogant. He doesn't ascend without a humble. He descends.
So good.
And then he swallowed a sword. And
So you hear Jim saying that Mark is out of line. So Mark Driscoll's describing what a stripper is someone who's basically a Jezebel, and the crowd's liking it so far. The crowd's liking it so far, but this is a very fair weather crowd, in my opinion. Because obviously this crowd was probably cheering when the male stripper was performing. They're probably cheering Mark Driscoll right now, and you're going to see them cheer Jim afterwards. So it's a very much an emotional roller coaster for this men's conference crowd.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Pastor John, I'll receive that. Thank you.
So, according to the YouTube caption, it is applause that's being held there, and there are some boos. I'm not sure. I'm under the impression that they're booing Jim for, or John, or whoever that is, for removing Mark Driscoll from the stage. And Mark Driscoll came about that very humbly, very soft-spoken. He wasn't boastful. He wasn't mean-spirited in what he was trying to say. He was just, drawing attention to an inconsistency that was related to what he was there to preach on. He was there to give a message that was very related to his sermon series on the days of Elijah, which I did a review on that sermon series. I actually thought it was a mostly good sermon series. I was kind of shocked. I went in there, not sure what it was going to be, but it was, for the most part, really good. But right there, you see him get the hook, or the manager comes out and takes the ball away from him, and now we're going to see the struggle session. So as you can see, the crowd is applauding Jim Lindell, or John Lindell, whatever he personally goes by. And he's wrong. John Lindell's wrong on this. This is not a Matthew 18 situation. Maybe Mark Driscoll could have done that, but at the end of the day, this was public error, not private sin. Matthew 18 is about private sin, not public error. And this is a complete category error by Lindell.
you, I'm not going to sit back and watch somebody do publicly what they should have done privately. And as a pastor and a man of God, I'll call another man of God out. Now, I love Mark, but he was out of line. And I have a responsibility spiritually for this event. And we saw 530 people come to Christ.
I'm going to press X to doubt because I just don't really buy that this guy's preaching a gospel that brings 530 people to Christ in one weekend. Let's just be real. This guy is very notorious for consumerism Christianity.
We've exalted Jesus, and we're going to conduct ourselves in a Christian manner, and we're going to go according to the Bible. And the Bible tells us how that should have been resolved, and it wasn't.
So there you have it. That was Mark Driscoll basically going to town, disagreeing with Jim there, and Jim just responding. And I don't think he looked good in that response at all. I thought that was a very courageous thing for Mark Driscoll to have done. Maybe he'll be kicked out of some of these events more often, so to speak, and won't be invited to so many problematic conferences. I would like to see that a lot. But honestly, this is a major conference. It wasn't a low-risk move for Mark Driscoll, so you got to give him credit there for sure. Hopefully, like a lot of other false teachers say, hey, this guy's going to call us out if we do stupid things. Maybe we won't invite him. I want to see that type of reaction, because Big Eva does not respond kindly to correction, no matter how gently it's delivered or publicly. Or if it's delivered publicly, they're not going to take kindly to it at all. So that's all I got to say about that for now. My name is Ray. This is the Evangelical Dark Web. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Until then, stay based. Christ is King, and we will catch you on the next one.